Hi everyone, so today I want to show you a few more things that you can do with these stencils. Now, if you're a total beginner to stencils and would like some more inspiration or understanding of the beginners like tips and stuff, there is a video that I have created where I'm talking about how to create blending and what to do for best clear impression. So I highly recommend you watch that first, which I'll try to link here, and then as a two-part video. So one more thing I have added to this since I have done the video is actually this little bit here, which you can create. It's like inverted design. So instead of having the design stenciled out with ink, you basically use the stencil with what's remaining, with the ink that's remaining. You spray it wet, so you add water to it, and then you flip it over and you press it onto the paper, and then what happens is you get the white of the paper instead of the pattern here, and then you get this kind of really beautiful watercolor effect, which you can also create, and you can see how super pretty this looks. This I made with Distress inks, the Distress Oxide inks by Tim Holtz. So these little guys here. Okay, so today let me just show you a few things that I have been playing around with and creating. Before we do that, again, just to remind you, these are the new stencils and they're available in my ESSIE Alyona Creates. Now, the 4 designs, they're all floral ornaments, and the flowers that they were inspired by are chrysanthemum, water lily, iris, and tulip. So I'll just show you from the back. So this is the chrysanthemum, water lily, iris, and tulip. So they have very intricate designs, and because of the patterns that I have created, you can use them as a whole, like a tile, like a Moroccan tile type of design, or you could use parts of it, you could layer them, you could blend them, you can do so many different things. Okay, so let's have a look in my journal. So this is just what they look like when you use them. This is the size of them, and you can see I can comfortably fit 2 into an A5 art journal. You can see the intricacy of the designs. The water lily and the tulip are most detailed, and then chrysanthemum and iris are a bit easier to use if you're a beginner. Now, there are tips, like I said, to do all sorts of things with them. Even if you're a beginner, you can still use the iris, no problem at all. Sorry, the water lily. Just you need to know the right tool to use with it so that you get the best impressions. So I designed my stencils in a way that it would help me to create more finished illustration with my clear stamps. So the clear stamps, the 2 original ones that I came out with was the Face of the Day and the Florals, and you know that if you've been watching this channel, that is, that I designed them to work together, and that's the ideology of my products. I want them to work together, but you can use them separate if you wish. So that's the idea. Now, previously we have, let me just show you. So this is the type of a look that you can create with the Face of the Day. So this is the type of an illustration that you can create with it. And you can do just the face, you can do with a bit of a neck, which you draw in yourself. So anything from the chin is something that you need to draw yourself. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could have something to help me to create this beautiful look without spending that much time, because I know how busy we all are, and some of us have full-time jobs elsewhere, and art and craft time is very minimal, so we're very precious with that time, and when we have that time we want to have maximum impact, and that's what I wanted. So Whereas this takes quite a bit of time to do, I wanted to be able to create something similar, maybe with less detail, but something quite effective, which I'll show you in a minute. Same thing here. So here I have simplified the bottom part of it, just drawn on the neck with a bit of a finished line here, but then I added some illustration up above here. And I thought, again, you know, if you have been using these sets and the others, where are they? Okay, so here they are, the Buttercup, Pansy, Lavender and Wax Flower. So these are from the Wildflower collection, and these were designed so that you could use them as they are if you wanted to as a finished illustration, or again you could use parts of it to create you know, different looks, again, as you did with them two combining. You could also add these flowers, and I'll quickly remind you if you're new to this channel. So here's one example. So you could use those flowers I just showed you and you know, still use them together with the face of the day if you wanted to, or you could use them separate. But then I wanted to create something that you could create a more softer look, so maybe less detailed, and stencils are a lot faster to work with because this takes a bit of time. You need to stamp it, you need to line it out, and it is faster than drawing it yourself for sure. However, there's also a slightly more faster way and just a different look altogether, which is the stencil, and that's why I wanted to include it in my product line. So here is an example which basically all I did is I used the face base from my FOTD stamp set, and then I created a mask, which is right here. I always keep it in this glassine bag at the back of my clear stamp set, and what happens is once you have stamped out the face, before you do anything else, you just use this little mask, put a washi tape, or if you stamp it out on one of those sticky back papers, then you can use it as it is. You don't need to adhere any washi tape. And then on top of that, this is the iris stencil. So I would put the iris stencil on top, use the brush to blend in the ink, pressing a little bit harder closer to the face contour and slightly less towards the edges, so that we end up with this softer blended look. And you can see it sort of has this gradient from dark to light. Now this took me seconds to do. I didn't need to line anything out, I didn't need to stamp anything individually, and it's just a very effective way of making your illustration stand out more. So here, for instance, you can see if I take off this part like that, it's just the face. You would need to do something to it, you know, either add something to the hair, or like in this case I kept the head nice and simple and then added a little bit here. You can of course just keep it a face and that's it, if that's what you like, and work on the makeup and maybe just add a bit of hair and things like that, which you can do by using this bun. But if you wanted it to be more finished illustration, then you would need to go ahead and do more. However, with this is very easy, very quick, very effective. All I did here is then added some of the doodling in the shape of the earrings and a little bit on her eye makeup here. So that's one thing you can do. Next thing you can do is do something like that, which is, the idea came from this. So I created this dress and it had a lot of detail, and I wanted something that would be a lot faster to create, and that's what these stencils come in. So it's a lot looser, it has less detail, but it looks like a dress. It looks like she's wearing some beautiful gown, and then you can also add some of these bits from the stencil into the hair. And the way I designed, like I said before, these stencils is that you can use them individually, like individual parts of it, and you can stencil up this part, move the stencil up a bit here. You can take another stencil, you can layer some of the elements, like for example the petals here on the edges from the chrysanthemum stencil. I use them as little kind of feathers almost sticking out here, making it look a bit more fluffier, whatever she's wearing. And same thing here on the hair. So you can do loads of things. The other thing is, I don't know if you noticed already or not, but because these have this flower design, so each of them, in the case of Iris, the iris inspired shape is right on the corners, so you can use these corners as individual flowers if you wanted to. This is the tulip right here, this is the water lily, there's also another smaller shape here, and the chrysanthemum, anything in the middle, and also this little bits around. So you can use so much, and all of these shapes are inspired by flowers, so any little bit that you can find individually and trace them or stencil them, you can create so many different kind of, it just looks like flowers. And yeah, I'd love the look. So you can make it look quite finished and almost dress her with these stencils in the matter of seconds. It's really quick. The other way the stencils can be used, which takes a little bit more time, is actually tracing them. So if you remember those stencils from back in school, you know, when you could stencil out like letters and words and whatnot, all you do is you take your stencil and take a pencil or a pen and then just trace the inside of the stencil. Similarly to the clear stamps, if you would use these individual clear stamps and stamp them, then you would go ahead and draw them out. Same thing here. This is a similar way of using the stencils, which you can do if you have a bit extra time. So all you do is, again, you take any stencil that you like, find a floral design that you like, and then put it wherever you want. Think of a composition and then just stencil out. So for instance, this big flower here, that's the water lily. The one on the side is the smaller water lily part. These two are, I'm thinking, are from tulips. So this is the middle part here. So I've done here those ones. The little heart design is from the chrysanthemum, so this end right here, so I've done that. And this part here, that's the one from, trying to think, yeah, that's from the water lily again, which is this bit. So if you look closely, there are so many individual little things, and that's why, you know, I really wanted to create something that will give you so much for your money. So it's got an abundance of things that you can do with these stencils, and that's always very important. You can see, like, you know, these clear stamp sets, they're packed with images. Some brands are quite stingy. They will give you this size of a clear stamp and just have, you know, a couple of things there, but it is what it is. So that's what I wanted to design. Now her dress, again, that's done with this, which one was it? Trying to think. Oh yeah, so that was the chrysanthemum. If you look closely, there is a little flower right in the middle, and that's what I've done. I lined it out and just created a bit of like a floral design, and these are just extra little doodles that I did, which are the leaves, and then these little kind of bits and pieces right here, just to make it look a bit more finished. They're also hand doodled separately. Now you can keep it black and white if you already spent so much time doing this doodle work with the stencils, so you don't need to add anything to it. You can just maybe add a bit of color to the face illustration and then keep the rest as it is, because it's quite striking, and black and white is quite trendy right now, so you could do that as well. or you could do watercolor on top of it and add a bit more color. Now, one thing I would recommend if you want to try this technique, I learned it through trial and error, and what I want to pass on to you is that instead of using a pen straight away, I would recommend to start with a pencil. Like this is a good one. Graph Gear 1000 by Pentool is the one I used because it's super fine, and use the pencil to line out everything. Then when you're finished, take the fountain pen, preferably with a waterproof ink. This is the Platinum Carbon fountain pen, which is super fine, and you can achieve this fine line, but also the ink is waterproof, which is also carbon ink inside. I'll link everything down below so you can find it. And then I went ahead and, like I said, lined everything out. So it takes a little bit of time to do it, but I found it to be the best way. Less smudging that way, and more clear and more kind of a better look really than going straight in, because also this will kind of stain, the ink might stain inside of the lines of your stencils, and sometimes what happens is some of the ink kind of smudges underneath. When you move the stencil to another position, you might find some sort of smudging of the ink, and that kind of I try to avoid. So that's a little tip for you right there. Let's look at the next one. Next one I have created, which I really love. It's more for those of you who love watercolor. So what you can do is use the Distress Oxides by Tim Holtz, and they are fabulous for that because they have this beautiful watercolory effect if you spray them with water. So what you do is you take your stencils. In this case, there were a couple I have done. Okay, so I've done here the water lily in some of the areas, so you can see this bit right here I've done here and here, and then this bit right here I've done in the middle, and the rest, oh, and there are some on the sides here which you can't see. There were also these flowers right on the sides, and then on top of it I went ahead and I kind of picked some of the elements that I really liked. Let's see, and just, yeah, this one here, like that. So I used that, and then I moved it around and stenciled it. All of that I did using one of those brushes. By the way, I have found them on the UK Amazon, the same one as I have here, and then for the US it seems to be the same brush, but I don't remember if it has a cap or not. I'm not sure, but it's the same brush. It just, I don't think it says fashion base on here, but it's basically done by the same manufacturer, and the brush itself is identical, but it sells in a set of 2 rather than 5, so you might want to buy 2 of those if you want to use many colors and then sort of wash them overnight and then use the dry ones next morning, if you know what I mean. And just to let you know, because they don't do these exact ones on the Amazon US in 5, a set of 5. Okay, so that's that. Once I have stenciled it all, then you take your sprayer bottle and you kind of spray it, but be very gentle so that you have little sprays. If you just go with a full-on spray, it will dissolve the entire design that you have done here, and it just will look a little bit redundant. But if you want this watercolor effect, which softens down the stenciling and it doesn't sort of look... So here I have used the chalk inks. They don't react in a distressed way with water as the Tim Holtz Distress Oxides do. So you need, you know, for whatever you're doing, you need the right ink. So keep that in mind. If you like that soft blended look, then these inks are perfect. If you want something more watercolory, then you need to go for these. And So that's it. So then at the bottom I've just done watercolor. By the way, this orange is from my palette. It's the tropical orange, or sorry, the tropical sunset, which is right here, and it has a little bit of a sheen, so it's very, very beautiful, and it gives that beautiful little dimension. And then the skin also I have created. So this one and the one before. Oop. So these two, the skin tone was done with Copic markers. This set right here. So I've done a review on this. I'll try to link it here in the card up above, and then I'll link the set for you down in the description. And if you want a more, so this is nice and soft. If you want more of a watercolor look, then go for watercolor. And both this and this skin tones I also have done with my handmade watercolors. They are still available on my Etsy shop while stock lasts. And another one that you can create is also for watercolor lovers as well as doodlers. Again, skin tone, while we're talking about skin tone, same thing I have done with my set. Now, everything here that you see the colors are from my lip and cheek palette. However, you see the dark color here and on the lip, and then a little bit of it here. That's the Naphthalite Maroon that I'm super obsessed with, and I kind of use it almost in every illustration at the moment. And I'll do a video actually where I share with you my favorite watercolor combo, like color-wise, at the moment, which I absolutely love. And it works, this Naphthalite Maroon works stunningly beautiful with this set. If you mix it with the red from my watercolor set, you get this beautiful, deep, like blood, dark blood red. Gorgeous color. If you mix it in with any of the peach or the oranges, you get, so if you mix it with the oranges, you get a deeper orange. If you mix it with the perfect peach or the pink, you get a slightly deeper color, which again, perfect. Also, it neutralizes the, so if you take and mix a little bit of perfect peach and tropical sunset and add tiny little bit of the Naphthalite Maroon, it neutralizes the two colors to the perfect Caucasian skin tone. So what you see here is with the addition of a tiny little bit of the Naphthalite Maroon, but you can create skin tones with these as well without the Naphthalite Maroon, but it's just the color that I absolutely love at the moment. So this is the final one I want to talk to you about today. So here we have done a combination of a few things. Firstly, I have again taken a stencil. In this case, it was the chrysanthemum. And I found a placement which I quite like to create a crown. So what I did is, let me see. So I placed it this way, which you can see just above her eyebrows. There is this flower which goes like that and like this. So I stenciled out, or rather doodled out. So I used a pencil to trace this image here. So I left the one at the bottom because that's her face. Didn't want to cover that up. So basically done that, and then also done this bit and this bit. And then what else have I done? And then I used this bit here, rotating the stencil as an addition on top, like that, here and here. And that was my finished work. So then what I did was I again took the fountain pen. I went ahead and traced everything on top of the pencil, and then I erased the pencil marks and added the watercolor. And on top, after everything has dried, I then have added a little bit of doodling just to get some more detail in there. So again, great for watercolor lovers because this is a very easy watercolor wash. You don't need to individually color every little bit, although you could if you wanted to. That would be super therapeutic, but in this case it was just very easy. The only thing that took time was just to do a bit of the tracing, and that's it. Again, you can do so many different things with these floral ornament stencils. So I hope this inspired you somewhat, and you can use your stencils when you receive them and create loads of fun things, and let me know how you get on. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.